All right, we are back in the shed of basketball truth. That is Studio 3 for Ball Don't Lie Australia, episode 197. Close to that, ever so close to that 200 mark. We'll get there soon. Don't stress. But today we have the head coach of the youth league team for the Brisbane Capitals. Has also done some other work for Rip City and elsewhere, and it's a bit of connection to one young Timmy Sung, who was on last week that I'm sure we'll get to. Dan Lister, mate, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Really excited to be here.
Not a drama at all, mate. Before we get too deep into your story, let's look at the NBL1 North. I mean, still a month and a half away, I know, but a couple of signings. It's signing season. All of us. Well, obviously these players already signed, but it's releasing that information into the wild, and we've got a couple. Saskia Gunness returning for the Wizards, but the big one, the one that has kept the entire league on edge, the whole conference of the NBL1 North. Would he sign? Wouldn't he? Was he going to stay in Mackay? Well, he is. It's Brad Rasmussen. He's going to come back for one more year. Old man Ras, the milkman, will be returning for another go-round. If he's got a ring for each one, we're getting close to this kind of business. We'll have to see how this season goes. But, it's good to see the old fella back. All right. Now, let's get into your coaching, your basketball background. So same question I ask everybody when they're first on the pod. Where did basketball start for you?
Well, as cliche as it sounds, it started with a basketball hoop in the backyard with my brother. And then I think it was I was about 6 or 7. And I joined North Brisbane Dragons. We lived around the corner from North Brisbane Dragons.
Dragon. Boy, I myself a much older dragon.
Still love them. There's still always going to be the one. But started there. What was it? I think back then it was under 10 mixed. I don't know if that's a thing anymore, under 10 mixed. But that's where it started, and then grew into a couple of Capitals seasons and stuff like that. But yeah, it's always it's where it started for me, and going to Bullets games and stuff like that at that age as well. Like it was huge.
Nice. All right, and we did talk about obviously potentially former FIBA Australia 3x3 number 2 Tim Sung. You obviously have that connection. You and him go back just a little bit,
all the way back to under 12's bottom age. So I think we would have been about 9 or 10. Played with him there, and I've been best mates with him ever since. But yeah, he's a hell of a guy, and yeah, it's unfortunate he's dropped back.
Yeah, the upside, of course, is, and he may not have, I haven't seen the official rankings just yet, but of course over the weekend, the Kangaroos, men and women, both came away with bronze from a tournament over in Thailand. Big shout out, of course, to Mila Sowar, whose jersey is behind me, and of course Hannah Hank, who wore that jersey that's literally above your head last NBL1 North season, and has had an amazing rise from that with her season in Geelong, and now is staying down there a little bit longer. Sadly for us up here in the North, she's signed down in the NBL1 South, but comes away with a bronze this time around with Miller. It was obviously there was some local talent that we would have loved to see, but it was great to see both sides of the coin come away with the bronze.
Yeah, absolutely. You always take a medal in those competitions, so obviously would have been good to see potentially number 1 involved, but is what it is. Number 2 at that time would have been good to see as well, but it's good they walked away with the medal.
I would love to add, 3x3, bronze medalist to the long introduction that Tim Sung gets given at the Capitals games nowadays. But If only he was an elite scorer like his parents, if only. Old joke, still a banger. But, all right, mate. So when did you realise, back to yourself, when did you realise coaching was your jam? Coaching was where it was going to be?
It was a bit of a whirlwind. So I didn't play a lot of rep for a while. I took some time out from basketball, just a little bit going on, and I got back into playing. I played a season of QSL at Moreton Bay. I got my body right, and
The Suns.
The Suns. Yep, yeah, absolutely. So I played a season there. Got injured halfway through that. Someone who's running around NBL1 North for Sunshine Coast Phoenix really messed up my finger, but we won't talk about that. That's fine. I live with it now. But so finished quickly that season. COVID hit, so the season finished even quicker. And then got the opportunity to be involved with the under-18 squad there. I kind of still wanted to keep playing, so I was working out at Pride Performance with Josh Tuetta, which is where that attachment started at USC. And then through COVID, I got injured. I hurt my knee, so I'm like, yeah, I can probably give it another go. I was 24 at that point, and you're trying to hit your point, like, do you keep going or do you? And then I watched a lot of NBL and local basketball, and I started to just tune in and watch plays over players, and just trying to get an understanding on that side a lot more. And that's when I started to get involved a little bit more with understanding the coaching side, and I enjoyed that a lot more.
Nice. And obviously last year you were with USC, Rep City in their youth league program. How'd the season go overall?
From where we were at the start of the season, it was really, really good. We came in, so state championships is in like January. We had the trials the week after, so all these guys pretty much showed up after that. And the top group kind of struggled there a little bit, and pretty much the whole squad was part of that. And I don't think anyone really gave us a chance to do much. It was Division 2 was the second team. It was kind of like, let's just try and get these guys developed and get something. And we started just heavily on the defensive end, and we started the season 0-4, and we're like, oh, this might be a really tough season. It took us a doubleheader weekend. I think I can't remember who we played on. We played Red City on the Saturday, and we beat them at home convincingly. We went to the top of the table, undefeated Spartans on the Sunday. It was 5 o'clock on a Sunday at Spartans, and if you're coming from the Sunshine Coast, it's not an ideal back-to-back road trip. But the fellas showed up, and we took the double-headed road win, and I think it just kind of clicked from there. We started to get a roll on. We missed finals in the end, but from where we were at the start of the season, I couldn't be. I stood in the locker room after the last game of the season. I just couldn't be prouder as I looked around the locker room, and them buying into me and understanding what I was able to do as the days after that came through.
Very cool. All right, and what was was there a particular takeaway that you had from the season as the coach? Something you look back on rather fondly as maybe something you learned from the season.
I guess the biggest thing that I learned is it's hard. There's a different switch to being arrogant and confident. And we had a couple of kids who, if you're on the outside, they would seem arrogant, but they're the most down-to-earth kids, and they flicked the switch from probably the first month of the season. A couple of them didn't get a burn in under 18s. And then it just took a flick of the switch. They started to come in. They started to take over, just being a voice and getting that. Just seeing how quickly guys can do that, and it's probably guys that you wouldn't expect it. And I guess the biggest understanding for me, anyone can do it, and it'll always go through every coaching job I do here. Don't wait for someone else to do it. anyone can do it. Anyone can exert confidence and communicate in a strong way.
All right. And obviously this season you're with the Capitals. What's the application process from the coach's perspective? Look, when you go for a different job at a different association.
Yeah. So first of all, I was I was looking around just based off. I'd never been through a coaching interview, and I predominantly did it and looked out there to just go through the interview process. Everyone says it's like a job interview, but it's really not. You're getting asked, what are your 3 key strengths on defense, your 3 key strengths on offense. You just get asked what your 3 key strengths are in like a job interview. So it's really different. But I've always wanted to come back to Brisbane at some point. So they put out expressions of interest. I did that. You just got to attach your resume that you have. And I was lucky enough to get a call back through that, to come in for a meeting or an interview. And who was there? Hamish, Peter Farlow, and Bill Ellis, who was the coach last season of the Youth League team. So I'd gone through that process. We had
storied bunch right there for the Capitals.
It was daunting walking. I did not know what I was walking into. It's in their offices in Milton where they are at the moment. I was just sitting out there in the chairs. I'm like, I don't even know where their office is, but I'll wait here. And Hamish walks past, and then he comes back and he goes, "Are you Dan?" I said, "Yep." So we went in there. That it was for me. And I don't think everyone should do this. I didn't have anything written down. And for me, I overcomplicate things when I write it down. So I just went in with an open mind on I know what I can do. I know what I've done. I know what I'm capable of. And I just went in there with that, answered the questions, and I thought it went okay. Didn't hear for a little bit. And then I got a text message that you're in the top 2. And the next step was a phone call with Greg. Yet again, daunting. Never met Greg in my life. About to have a phone call, and your last 2, and you're also thinking like, this is your first coaching role you've really applied for and you've gone out of your way for, and you're in the top 2. You're like, how did I get here, like through this and everything? But I had a really good conversation with Greg, and then I think it was probably a week later I got a call from Peter Farlow, probably the one person I didn't expect to get the call from. And that's not a knock on Peter. Like, I love Peter. He's been around since I was there in under 12. So
not going anywhere either.
He's not going anywhere, that's for sure. So
absolutely loves it, lives and breathes it.
And he just called me and said, we're going to appoint you. And I was just sitting on my couch on a Friday, just about to go to work actually. And I got it, and safe to say I shed a tear, because I'm like, oh, this is real now. This is, being a Capitals junior or a junior anywhere, you always want to go back and be able to give back to where your journey started. And that's what I wanted to do with Brisbane. And it's great to be back.
All right. So next question. What are the strengths of the squad? We won't, get you to expose Achilles' heels, this early, but what are some of their strengths, obviously?
I guess there's a couple of strengths. One of them is our ability that is going to be able to change it up on defense. We've got a lot of length, and we've got a lot of athleticism, and a lot of medium to bigger size guys that can do a lot of different things on defense. And it's a great ability to have, especially with, I thrive myself as a coach off the defensive side. That's where I see my bread and butter with it. So trying to get that,
love that.
Trying to just get them to buy in. They're doing it. The ability of these kids that are coming out of the programs, like, you may see it and it's not a knock on the Sunshine Coast, but the Sunshine Coast to Brisbane talent that's coming out of schools is ridiculously different. And again, I know a lot of Sunshine Coast people. I still reside up the Sunshine Coast at the moment. I'm not knocking them, but
his address will be at the end of the podcast if you really got something to say.
Yeah, just don't give out my phone number. That'll be all right. But I guess, you got all the private schools in Brisbane. It's not recognised as scholarships up the Sunshine Coast in regards to basketball. So the ability that you see these kids, especially out of the under-18s programs and stuff and bottom ages, it's huge. And I guess that leads into our other strength, and that is I don't know where our ceiling is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really good thing to have, because I don't think through the preseason, it's kind of been a really shorter preseason given, we start this weekend. But, there's no sight of what the ceiling can be. And for me, that's makes me really happy. And if you're probably on the opposition side, yeah. But
potentially shouldn't be.
At the end of the day, like it's a really good thing to have, and it's really good thing for myself and the coaching staff to try and keep pushing forward and making sure we can reach that ceiling when the time's right. Just stock up the wins and keep going with it, and just continuously get better day in and day out as a team and as individuals in what they do, and that ceiling will be reached at the right time, and we'll be good.
All right. And as a coach, obviously you're just talking about how we're starting this season. What's a typical pre-season week look like for you in the coach's role?
A lot of conversing with assistant coaches. Mm-hmm. Just trying to...
Let's give him a shout out. Go on. Shout
out Mike. Mike's been really big help this pre-season. Tom as well, and Geordie. So I stepped back into the role in Brisbane, and I didn't know anyone in regards to coaching or who was available apart from Geordie. And I already had my sights on Geordie pretty early, but what was his role going to be is another question. And
he is such a delight and so basketball knowledgeable as well.
He is. He hides it a lot, and we're trying to get it out of him. But it's a great thing. He's got the attachment with the under-18s kids, given he's been with that program and Ash Proud for a long time. So he's really good with the players' side and an understanding on them. I walked in not knowing who my assistant coaches were going to be, not knowing personally any of the players that were going to come through the door. I'd seen them play. I'd seen them, I'd seen the stats and stuff for it, but not knowing them on a personal level. And that's where a guy like Geordie came into it. Mike was an assistant coach with Bill Ellis last year and Bruce Palmer. So Mike gave me a heads up on that too. And don't cut Bruce's influence short on this too. He came to trials. We went straight to his office. I had a couple of phone calls with him in the preseason, but first time I'd ever met him, he goes, "Step in my office." But
semi-retired, I think, is probably closer to full retired.
He's great. He's great. But I guess preseason, it's talk to the coaches, so make sure you're all on the same page, and it does take time. It's not something that's just over in a day. Obviously we trialed in second and third week of January. Mm-hmm. And given the season starts this weekend, it's only a 2-month block. In regards to full season, you throw in a cyclone in that as well, where you lose a couple of sessions given you train at a school which closed down and stuff like that. So, but it's trying to get those guys.
At least this time when we had a weather event, Auckland Flower didn't flood.
Yep.
This time.
Yep. 100%.
One of the first times.
They were ready for it. So that was okay. Yep. But yeah, trying to get that understanding, trying to come up with plans of what targets we want to hit by what time. And at the same time, it's not difficult, but when you throw in all these kids that are part of school programs, school comes number one. And we said that from day one. So we're getting different guys to each session, which 100% is not a knock on them. As I said, school basketball, it is a bigger priority than youth league. And we get that. We're very happy to take them when they're here, but it's kind of slowed the process down to knuckling down. So we've simplified it a bit. We've gone through and simplified it a bit over the preseason in regards to, I guess it goes hand in hand with us hitting our ceiling. We'll hit our ceiling at the right time. We'll hit our straps in what we want to do fully at the same time. But, as long as we get the philosophies in place about what we're about and what we want to do as a team. But I guess, coming up with session plans, communicating, executing, and just, making sure we're getting that buy-in from the playing group. That's probably the biggest thing.
All right. Well, best of luck for the season. If they're anything like the team that came through last year, they were so close. They had quite a good season, and just in that final game, it fell a little bit apart. In that one, I was there. I was commentating it. It was a good game for the opposition.
Yeah, sorry about that one. I wasn't a part of that coaching staff, but I'd been involved with them the year before. But sorry. Yeah. Believe me, I've heard all about it this preseason. But and it shows these guys have an edge to take it that one step further, and it's been great conversations with the guys that are returning about what we're going to do to get that. And it's also I guess it's a really tough situation for me to walk into, given we made a grand final. No
pressure.
But this is my point I was going to get at, right? If you're a coach and you don't feel the pressure, I feel like you need to do something to make yourself feel the pressure. Mm-hmm. Like, I've gone through this whole preseason, and there's times where I'm like, damn, this is difficult. Damn, what are we doing? But at the end of the day, if it's not challenging and it's not, if it's not like that, then challenge yourself. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I know the expectations where it is, to go one step further from last year. And that's what I'm hoping to come in and do.
All right. Best of luck to the Caps. Eh? All right.
Absolutely.
Moving along to just a slightly higher level league. And their words, not mine, guys. Their words, not mine. The NBL, you're pretty keen to get on here and have a yarn. And we've had the semi-finals where no home team lost a game.
Yep.
To a grand final series where no home team has won one. Just an absolute, flip of the script. What was the standouts from game 3 for you? We're obviously United able to get it done late.
Yeah, so I'll start off with my prediction was Illawarra in 5, just based off the fact that I thought it would continue that no team wins on the road, but mistaken in game 1.
Well, you never know. You could be completely wrong.
Yep.
And yet still right.
Yeah. Well, there's still a chance. There's still a chance. It's not over yet.
Yep.
The biggest takeaway is just the next man up mentality for Melbourne. Like, we were chatting to, like, before we came on about, I don't know how many minutes a guy like Tom Coppins has played all season, but Dean Vickerman throws him on in the first quarter. Did he make an impact on the scoreboard? No, but he probably went out there and played the exact role that was expected from him. And when you got that confidence from your coach, like, and I feel like that's the difference between Illawarra and Melbourne right now. Like, to be honest, Illawarra should have held on for that one.
Mm-hmm.
For me,
7 minutes to go, up by 10.
Yeah.
And they just kept looking for that dagger 3, and then all of a sudden.
That was my next. That was my point I was getting to. So you look at the stat sheet and you're like, it's kind of. You look at the differences, and the differences are a point, like bench points, and the bench points are definitely going to drop for Melbourne when you take Ian Clark into the starting lineup like that. You expect that, but 38 3-point attempts for Illawarra, and they had 77 field goal attempts. Like, 50% of your shots are from the 3-point line, and you score 77 points. I think it was something like that. Like, and I don't even think it was trigger happy down the stretch. I think Melbourne have played this really well in the postseason. You could see it in game one, the Davo Hickey and Marcus Lee defending that and giving them what they want. They're working hard on the guys that they have to, and they're really making it known that they're going to leave those guys open. And at the moment, I know they won one game, but Illawarra probably shouldn't have taken game two at the same time. Melbourne kind of blew that a little bit, but it was a high scoring game which fell into Illawarra's hands. But also, the starters, if your starters aren't performing, you're not winning. All Melbourne starters, apart from one, were in double figures in game three, and I think only 2 out of Illawarra's were.
Yes, 2, and only then Kel and Swackle Bullock on 10.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm not that negative on the Hawks. I think they definitely got away with, Tyler Harvey in your face.
Yep.
Was glorious. And you watch the replay of that Goulding attempt at the other end. That
had no right bouncing out. Like that was
that, and that was a classic Goulding sort of moment. But I think Illawarra have had moments, not in the fourth quarter, but moments in all 3 games where they have had absolute control. And then either a halftime or a 3/4 time, or they've just let the other they've let Melbourne United in. It was really obvious for me in that last one with 7 minutes to go. First game, of course, it was first half, and that first 3 minutes coming into the third quarter, United were just back instantly.
Yep.
Just turned it on. Hawks weren't ready off the bench. I think a lot of it comes down to your Vickerman and your coaching staff, because it's actually like Coach Ollie Reid said only a couple of weeks ago. We're on that couch and we've got the receipts, obviously, but that classic thing of Vickerman will make these tiny alterations as the game goes on, like you talked about with the young man coming in early, had barely seen any minutes, and then just bam, comes in, helps, effective minutes, even though there wasn't points off the back of it. But those little adjustments, those little conversations, and of course the experience that him and the crew have, that Tatum and the coaching team don't necessarily have at that level. And what have they done all year? They've let the boys run.
Yep.
They've given them the reins, and they almost need to be a little bit more aggressive in pulling them back. But it's tricky. Do you pull them back when they're on an absolute tear, or do you just let one mistake go? Or I think there's been a couple of moments where there's been a substitution that hasn't quite gone quite right, or there's a timeout opportunity or 2 missed at crucial moments. But in saying that too, these have all been tight games.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I'm not knocking Illawarra in any way. I still hope they can do it. I'm still backing them in. But I think as you
go Hawks.
as you talk about the rotations, like he hasn't, and this isn't a knock on Tatum, he hasn't changed any rotations really from the off season to the in season, and Vickerman has. Like Flynn Cameron barely saw the floor in the playoffs before, I think, game 1 of this series or even game 2 of this series. Like, he's an experienced coach pulling in the reins in what he knows, and Tatum's still trying to find answers. And to be honest, you look at it in game 3, Melbourne starters were all in the positive for plus minus and their bench wasn't, whereas Illawarra's starters were all in the negative and their bench players were in the positive. So it's like, it's effective both ways, and I feel like every game's been resulted in very different factors. But it's a tough one heading to Melbourne now. Who knows what's going on with Trey Kell or Shea Illy, but to be honest, the Shea Illy fact doesn't really matter when you replace him with an Ian Clark and they go down to Illawarra and get a win. So,
well, yeah. Whereas on the flip side, obviously Hawks have really needed Trey Kell. in their last wins, they've needed big games out of Trey Kell, or at the very least, him and Harvey going toe to toe with each other, pushing each other, and doing it as a 2-man ensemble.
I think that's the thing they've struggled with in the postseason, especially this series, is Illawarra are getting given opportunities through every other player except for Harvey and Kell, and I'm not too sure that they're executing the way they want to with those two. Like, I think Melbourne are just junking it up enough, as we touched on the Lee and Hickey factor. Like, Frolling's been pretty dominant in all 3 games. Kell and Harvey are kind of floated in and out. Like, they're first team NBL guys. This is the time where they got to stand up and try and take a hold. And I think you're probably going to see that in game 4, like, especially if Trey Kell's out. You expect Tyler Harvey to go for 30. Like, I think that's the expectation.
Yeah, it's kind of got to be, well, it's go big or go home.
Yep.
And United fans will be pretty brutal, just like the Hawk fans have been completely along this journey, as they should be. It should be difficult when it's playoff time and the opposition's coming in to take away a championship, no matter how many you've got recently. Basketball fans are not about this whole idea of sharing. Like, that's my trophy, and I deserve it. And even if all I've done is come along and buy a jersey and a seat and a couple of drinks and some overpriced chips from the kiosk, gosh darn it, I deserve it, and I'm going to let this other team know. And I love that when the home teams really make things loud and noisy. And sadly, I think we only really saw that at Wollongong in that first 3 quarters. And then all of a sudden it got real quiet.
Yeah,
at the end of the 4th.
The Illawarra crowd is probably something that's apart from your Perth and stuff like that small stadium, that compact, all the fans in, stuff like that. It has the ability to be the loudest and the most vocal and everything like that. But yeah, you're right. They kind of backed out in the last quarter of game 1, but I don't like the flop count, but I love the purpose of the flop count through. That's just based off not saying that Goulding flops, but that's the crowd getting into it, as you say. Like, that's I'm not going to confirm nor deny my opinion on that, but that's the buy-in from the fans you want. Like, that creates the atmosphere. That, and being to games in Melbourne before at John Cain Arena when it's full, like Melbourne versus Sydney games like that, there's nowhere better around the league that has the music that matches the music and the like the lights and everything that matches anything like what they do. Like, they're the best entertainment team going around. And Illawarra is the most vocal if they get that. It's really good to see. And hopefully it goes back to game 5 and that crowd gets it done and gets them over the line, because that's my pick.
Yeah, I obviously went Hawks in 4, which was feeling real good coming into the 4th quarter. Wasn't feeling so good. It's the 6th game in a row for Illawarra where they've dropped the 4th. They've lost that 4th quarter. I mean, it's tricky. Obviously, they're where they are from, that they play that certain style. They get out, they hustle, they burn. They'll run that fast break and they'll try and run games down your throat. And they've done a great job of doing that all season. But they're against United now. And, it's a little bit trickier, and they've still got to get these last 2 wins.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a key point that hasn't been touched on enough is Illawarra love to get out and run. And when they get out and run, they take the lead in games. But when the team like Melbourne can lock it down and nullify it to a half court, there's no team better defending the half court. You got Marcus Lee at the ring, you got Jack White guarding your most dangerous 4 like Darius Days. I know Illy didn't play, but Ian Clark is an underrated defender in what he could do. Like, he's been sticking to Tyler Harvey a bit, and obviously Delhi and stuff. But Melbourne are just locking it in a half court, and that's what's getting them and grinding them back into games. But hopefully we see a bit more free flowing from Illawarra and they can take game 4.
Look, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But
anything's possible.
Yeah.
Anything's
yeah,
possible.
Yeah.
So
And look, last time Melbourne United won, they did it at home. So there's that concern. And it was, local boy Mitch McCarron who was big part of it. I did have to love too when Chris Golding obviously had huge moment, wins, goes off and sees his baby girl, and it goes into full dad mode, and things just like, what's going on? There's like lots going on here, and I'm stimulated by this classic dad moment.
There's nothing better like that than seeing that, and it's like the babies with like the headphones on, and it's like they got no idea what's going on. 3 or 4 years time, or however long down the track, they'll understand it. But it's just it's the cutest thing to see
for sure. All right, look, we talked about Delhi. Obviously, 0 turnovers, 11 assists, only one to ever do it. Old man Dellavedova looking for another contract next year. The Cavaliers' days are sadly behind him, but he's showing he's still got some action. There's still some go in the motor.
As soon as he gets 2 feet in the paint, it is tough. He's got that turn away, the fade away turn, and just the decision making of him. It's crazy to me every single time the alley-oops to Jack White. They are absolutely, anybody else is throwing them, that's a ridiculous pass. But you don't see any of them actually go wrong. There was like 2 or 3 in the third quarter, I think it was, in game 3, and it's just, when he's in that groove, it's just so tough. But yeah, I think Illawarra's biggest thing, they just got to try and keep him out of the paint. And as difficult as that sounds, because obviously you're helping hard off Goulding, there's lob threats in Lee and White who will just make back cuts in every, and then there's Ian Clark. And then you clarify the point that you're like, and then there's Ian Clark, and it's like, how are you fully going to be able to keep this guy out of the paint making decisions? Like that's the fun part for Tatum to figure out, Tatum and the coaching staff. But yeah, it's a tough ask. If they do it, they're in a really good way, but it's a tough one.
Definitely is. Both sides. Jack White, another one of those ones that was better in the last game. Still a little tentative. Doesn't want to jack that 3, even when he had moments when it was open. But definitely better from him. Game 3 versus game 2, where there was nothing that let fly.
And I love a coach that goes straight to him first play. Everyone's spoken about it. They will say internally they've not spoken about it. They've 100% spoken about it, but what a bounce back. Like that. That's the level we want to see him at. He's obviously gone through his shaky moments at the free throw line, but to be honest, I didn't see game 2 live, and then I watched game 2. I still didn't know he didn't take a shot. Like, unless you look at the stat sheet, and he still makes an impact in what he does at times, but he got in foul trouble, so it kind of took him away. But yeah, what a way to respond. That's what professionals do, and he's at a high level for that. So
yeah, look, and he's had his free throw worries throughout the entire playoff run, and we've talked about it here. Like at one point against Perth, he stood back like an entire letter on the Powerade. It was like, that is a bold choice to make that adjustment in game. It didn't help, sadly, but like I said, big turnaround. Everything was looking more in his direction. Could he be more aggressive? Yes. But, to take from one game to the next on the offensive end, still big.
I think it's them too, with the not trying to force it. They're trying to play in the means of their offense, which is, let's not let Illawarra leak out and run. So let's not force these shots. So yeah, we want him to take shots and be aggressive, but he found himself in the flow of the offense with his 20 points. And that's probably the biggest thing for him. I don't think he forced anything at all. So they didn't allow Illawarra to get out and play that running game.
All right. Still sticking with the Hawks, or flipper time?
I think they can do it. Trey Kell's a big loss, but I think they were first for the whole year for a reason. It's just unfortunate they don't have a second chance now. Like this is it. This is their time to turn up and show why they were number one. And I hope they can do it. I think they can do it. But yeah, it's tough when it's Melbourne in Melbourne. Like it's ridiculously tough.
Yeah. And look, Jackie's got away with it last year, and all those games needed last minute heroics to get things done, and doesn't matter which way it goes. That's what I'm hoping for this season.
Yeah,
I can be wrong with my predictions. I mean, I can live with it. It doesn't keep me awake at night. Does a little bit, but that's fine.
So we're not expecting Todd Blanchfield to have a Jack McVeigh moment.
Whoa. First of all, possibly.
That would definitely change the dynamic of the series.
I mean, for sure. And then you've got to go back to Illawarra. I mean, from a back of house situation, do United have flights booked back to Illawarra? I mean, from a logistical standpoint, they've probably got to have refundable ones booked in, but it'd be a bold move.
Well, it's also, do they have a refundable option for their party on Thursday?
Well, this is true.
All around, have they got refunds sorted? So they better, they're probably across that, yeah.
Well, and that's the great thing about having Delhi on your team. Everyone else might have fancy taste, but he just needs a couple of tins, pair of Bonds undies, a Hawaiian shirt, and he'll be happy as a pig in.
Yeah,
so,
it's just you can't get the Corona tins over here, so
sadly
he'll have to find an alternative.
As long as it's not VB. Some respect might, but no, he could do almost no wrong.
He can't do
it. No, not even that.
He gets a free pass on everything.
Pretty much.
To a level. Yep. Sorry, I clarified to a level.
To a level, obviously.
We all know what we mean.
All right. Before you go, two things: Fast Five and Crackem. Yep. I know the local card shop of Woolloongabba Crackem can be a little bit nervous. People can be a little bit nervous about that. That's why we leave it to last. All right, Fast Five first. Let's get into it. Haven't done Fast Five in a while. It's just 5 quick questions, simple questions. You just rattle off your answers as quick as you can. And, there's only 5, so it's mostly painless.
All right, gotcha.
Completely painful. We'll start off with the easiest one. I always say that because it's easy to say, but it's not. So can you give me your top 5 players of all time?
Yeah, easy straight off. We'll go Shaq at the 5.
Oh, yes. Big Shamrock, as I like to, since we're this close to St. Paddy's Day.
AI at the 1. Big AI fan. Tim Duncan at the 4.
Yes. It's a big fundamental. I'm
going to put Kobe at the 3 and MJ at the 2, which is going to cause a lot of debate because there's a certain person missing in that. But
it's a personal, 5 players of all time.
Tim Duncan just clean in everything he did.
And it's one of those things. It was very easy to say things like, he's too fundamental. He's at the time, but the amazing things that he did on the court, which, even just helping out opposition guys, like coaching he was that good that he had time to coach other players on the opposition whilst playing against them in regular season games, of course, but 100%. Still, just amazing. All right. Nice top 5. It's okay. LBJ doesn't need to be in everyone's top 5. It's a personal thing.
I was trying to fit him in my head, but it just wasn't working.
There's only 5. It'll come in off the bench, I'm sure.
6 men.
Yeah. All right. A favourite playing number and why?
I usually, in my slow days of playing at the moment in social games, I go with number 20.
Okay.
Just basically...
Big Gordon Hayward fan?
Not particularly. Not a knock on Gordon Hayward. Just everyone loved number 10, so I just doubled it. And,
doubled
it and just stuck with it. It's not so popular number. So,
No, Nice.
That's basically it.
That's basically it. I like it.
It's got no resemblance to anything else in my life. It's just number 10. I used to like number 10 a lot, and then just everyone wanted it, so I just went to 20.
That's the tricky thing, and especially like for myself and others coming from like country programs, it was it 3? Normally 3 to 13.
Yeah,
and that was it. So
I think it's like 4 to like FIBA numbers, 4 to 15 and stuff like that. So like it's sometimes you can't reach that 20, and then you just you usually just roll with anything.
All right, favorite movie
Oh.
or TV show if you're not a big movie guy.
I'll hit you with both. I'm not a big movie guy, but Jackie Moon in Semi-Pro. Definitely
good choice.
That got a run on the plane to Europe multiple times. That was the go, but
Mega Bowl.
The
Flint, Michigan Mega Bowl.
Flint, Michigan Mega Bowl. And TV show, I'm big into TV shows. Prison Break's my number one.
Okay.
I do not ask Lauren how many times I've restarted that. I always seem to be watching it, and I always get judged for it these days. So,
well, yeah,
it is my downtime, and it's usually, twice a year. But I fade in and out because it takes so long. Like there's 5 seasons, so like you take it a season at a time. But
yeah, I tried to watch it back in the day and just got lost in between seasons. Yeah. Which I think actually came out at the same time. But anyway.
People usually lose it at season 3 or 4. And then it's a bit of carry on after that, but it's still good.
It's a great premise for a show. Yeah,
it's amazing how you can get 5 seasons out of breaking out of a prison.
You can wring anything. You can wring the water out of anything in Hollywood, they can. All right. So this coaching thing really takes off. Brisbane Capitals Youth League get up. Hollywood comes a-calling. Who plays Dan Lister in the Brisbane Caps Youth League 2025 season movie?
It's for some reason, and it's not a good one. Jackie Moon's coming straight up in, so
Will
Ferrell's coming up into that.
Yep. Funnily enough, Tim Sung came back with Jackie Chan straight away, which there's a height discrepancy. Like,
yeah. Who? Oh, it's hard to go. But he was an inspirational coach, and I feel like I'm the same. So yeah,
everybody love everybody.
Everybody love everybody. Ferrell, Jackie Moon.
Yep. I bought you them boots. Or another one was it? I'm like Bambi's mother. I've got you.
I just love the bit where he'd never puked before. And it's just
in the jejunum.
He had no idea what was it. It was great. It's an all-time movie. If you haven't seen it, then
get around it.
Get around it.
Get around it. Yeah, not the sort of thing that could really be done as a remake. It's just I don't think it'd work. Potentially with picture perfect, could be a TV show. But the casting would just have to be so on point.
How are you going to come up with another song that's as catchy as "Love Me Sexy"? Like that's
you got to steer in and just go with it.
It just fits.
But maybe go into Mum's back catalogue. All right. Favorite kicks of all time.
Ooh, I only really got into kicks a few years ago.
Expensive habit.
Yeah, it's one I consistently get in trouble for. And that's very fair. I went on a really bad patch of buying. Like, I've got those boxes in our spare room, like the display cabinets, and I've slowly been filling them up to like slowly be starting to ship them out a little bit because I got caught. So,
get a PO box, mate.
That's fair. Yeah, I live in a small apartment though, so it's hard to hide them when the time's right. But, I really like, of all time, the Kobe's. I've got a pair of Kobe.
We going Kobe's early Adidas days, like the crazy ones, or we going Kobe's Nike Kobe's?
Nike Kobe's. Yeah, they're probably the main ones. The most comfortable shoe that I've ever worn is, a pair of KDs or Puma. Puma for
Okay.
your big and wide foot. Puma is really comfortable.
Okay.
So
Okay. All right. And of course, since you're a coach, we've got to ask the question, because there seems to be only two main shoes that coaches wear. Jordan 1s or Dunks? Which side do you fall down on?
I think walking in with Dunks on probably answers that. If you ask all my previous under-18s coaches groups, it is definitely Dunks.
Dunks. Yeah. Okay. All right. You're allowed to be wrong on the couch. It's okay. We listen, but we don't judge.
That's it.
All right. And final question. If you could go back in time and watch any game in the history of basketball, as a spectator, which game are you going to go back and watch? Which one are you going to, and obviously at any level, anywhere in the world, history of basketball?
That's a tough one. There's a few that stick out, but it's probably one that hasn't been heard, but the finals game where Ray Allen hits the corner three, just
Yep.
The feeling it would have been in the crowd would have just been like just the air sucked out of it, and just those impact moments like that are just
the feeling crazy. In Paddy Mills when he looked over at the trophy and was like, "We're about to win that," and then looked back at the game and looked back and the trophy had been moved, and
it's crazy when you hear the broadcast and there's no noise and you just hear those fans that are just the away supporters chucked up in the bleachers, and you just hear the noise through that. Like it's that's probably the one. Or Kobe's 81. Like they're the two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, there's only one thing left to do, and it's local card shop of Woolloongabba, NBL Crackem 2023-2024. So the most current cards. I will warn you, not every player is necessarily still on that team.
Yep.
For example, Marcus Lee card from that bunch, obviously wearing a Jack Jumpers jersey. All right. It's time.
This is the most nervous part of the show I've been waiting for.
Oh, you know what you need? You need an official beer company beverage. But look, let's get in. Tops 2023-2024, 6 cards. Last week, Timmy only had 5 because we had a Bryce Cotton cheeky double up. So we just went with the shiniest one of those. And having a little bit of trouble. Don't want to break or ruin anything. Okay, here we go. First card for local card shop of Woolloongabba Crackem, Brisbane Bullets rookie card. Somebody wrapped up his US college career early to get a jump on the pros. Signing with Brisbane ahead of the NBL 24 season, you can expect a guy who is versatile, the Melbourne native says. I'm tenacious. I bring everything. I've got every day, and I'm going to find a way to help my team win. With formidable size, he can play either forward spot.
Josh Bannon.
Josh Bannon, it is. Number 13 himself. There he is in the First Nations round jerseys. All right. On to the next. Good start. No extra clues required.
That's a nerve settler. It can only go down from here.
Sure can. All right. Card 2 for local card shop. Gabba Crackem. Somebody registered his first NBL double-double just 4 games into his Illawarra career on October 14, 2023, posting 14 points and 10 rebounds against Adelaide. Somebody is a defensive-minded big with a special basketball IQ. Hawks GM of basketball Matt Campbell says of the import, we love his physicality and ability to impact the game at both ends.
Import last. Is it Gary Clark?
Gary Clark, it is indeed. And there he is. All right. 2 from 2. What were you worried about? I mean, honestly, okay. Well, luckily for you, we actually have a similar situation to what we had last week, and we do have a double up of cards with this next particular player. So let's go with the special. Let's go with the special. Okay. Rookie card. I'll give you that much, and we'll go from there. A French youth international. Somebody stood out as a teenager in the United States before signing in Perth in 2023 as a part of the NBL Next Stars program. In his first 3 games in the league, he averaged 12 points and shot 71% from the field.
He's having a really tough time at the moment with the Pistons, but Alex Sarr.
Alexandra Sarr. Yes, very good. And there it is. We'll get that one in a card safe from a local card shop of Woolloongabba straight away. And there is the other rookie card. Just a base card, but still, you know, especially if we can turn things around over there in the NBA, only go up in value.
He's got a lot of talent, that's for sure. Like,
he sure does. And like clearly you're a big fan because he's number 20 for Perth, right? Yep. Yeah. All right. We've got 2 cards left. Another rookie card. The third Next Stars signing in Sydney history. Somebody contributed 14 points and 9 rebounds in his second NBL game on October 5th, 2023. Big numbers, though, are nothing new to him. The previous season, somebody was named the NBL East Youth Player of the Year after averaging 17.9 points, 5.8 rebounds, 2.7 assists per game for a team that went 20-2.
I can only think of Alex Tui.
That's the only name you need to think of. Alex Tui. Okay, 4 from 5.
I wasn't sure about the NBL1 East stat. That's what threw me. But
yes, the younger of the NBL ones.
Yep.
But still, they are growing, and of course, sadly for us up here in the north, have signed Jason Kadee, with him going home to play with his junior squad, his Brisbane Capitals. But Kadee's already won the Capitals a chip, so
4 months. We'll talk in 4 months.
We'll see. All right, final card. Somebody posted a trio of 20-point. Oh, there's that number again. 20-point games among his first 5 appearances in 2023/24, showing why he'd been such a coveted addition for Adelaide. When the 36ers earned their initial win of the season on October 14, somebody poured in 13 points in the opening quarter on his way to 25 points and 8 rebounds. He tallied 28 points against Sydney 6 days earlier. While this is an Adelaide 36ers card, I can tell you he no longer plays for the 36ers. He was wearing a number 3 jersey, though, for the Sixers, and has a hometown of San Diego, another Will Ferrell movie base, just like Flint, Michigan. California.
I really import last year. I'm trying to think. No, that wasn't last year. I was thinking of the left.
Would you like me to lead you to water a little bit with some clues?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
All right. Some unhelpful ones. He was born in 1994. Right-handed, or shoots righty. 99 kilos, 193 centimetres, and we've talked about how crucial he's going to be if he happens to play in the next game for the Illawarra Hawks. Trey Kell, not the first, not the second, but the third. There we go. I'm going to pop that over here in the – didn't quite get it on his own stack, but did a heck of a job with the rest. Well done. 4 out of 5. As clean as you like. Nothing to worry about, mate.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about. Like, you know, people play this game in the car all the time. They just think that seat's more comfortable than this one. But, all right, mate, that wraps us up. Thank you very much for coming in and joining us.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
No dramas at all. All right, that wraps us up. 197 episodes done, locked in. A huge thank you, of course, to the official beer company, local card shop of Woolloongabba, and, of course, to the Podfire Network, where you can find this podcast, as well as, of course, Spotify and Apple. I say Apple iTunes, but, you know, that's just showing my age. If you can, please do go ahead and give us 5-star reviews on any of those platforms. That stuff really does help, or wherever you get your podcast. But until you're listening to us again, just remember that ball don't lie.